Hey guys, what is going on? Devon here. Hope you guys are having a good day so far, and welcome to another installment of Kingdom Hearts 101. I am joined, per usual, by the man, the myth, the beard, Mr. Josh Music. Josh, say hello.
Hello, Josh.
Yeah, we're back! It has
I always, every single time we start off with that, I either have to say that or pause to try to come up with something witty, and then nothing conspires in my head, so...
Yeah, it's okay. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute since we've done this. I've been busy with school, you've been busy with work, and we've been having the time of our lives to try and get together to record this. But we're here. We're here now, and we have finally completed the most recent game in the Kingdom Hearts saga, Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance HD.
Triple D, baby!
Triple D, baby! I had a very... I wasn't quite sure how I was going to feel going into this game, because I have... If anybody's been following my channel and knows my opinion on the Kingdom Hearts series, know that I have very conflicting opinions about this game, so I was really interested to see what your reaction was going to... what your reaction to this game was going to be going into it. So I'm glad that now it's done, it's out of the way, and now, per usual, we're going to talk about the game, talk about what we liked, what we disliked, and of course, what Josh's predictions are for the series going forward. So, with all of that said, in general, Josh, what were your thoughts on Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance?
It's been a while, so like trying to remember the whole game in its entirety is going to be a little bit difficult for me. As a whole, I don't know. Like I'm kind of like where you're at. Like I don't know if I like it or dislike it. I'm kind of indifferent. Like I say overall, I liked it, but there's definitely some things like that can nitpick between going from good to bad. Like I like the idea of dreams, like the whole dream concept, more than what Recoded was doing with. Like it's a more cohesive with what it's doing story-wise up until the end. That's where the ending's like,
yeah,
it's good, but it's also like, okay, now you add it on top of dreams and what Recoded did, like you're also adding time travel into this. It's like, oh god, like my brain can, okay, what like, so we've already had a Matrix like storytelling with Recoded, and then we're adding Inception-like storytelling with Dreams, and now we're adding time travel stuff. Like this is like some Back to the Future bullshit, or some...
It's not even like Back to the Future, because like going off of time travel, I think this, without question, is probably where most people in the Kingdom Hearts community just kind of, not even necessarily tapped out, but this is the moment where, like, okay, Nomura, you've officially lost me. Because, like, there's so many rules that he introduces that has to go with time travel. Like, you have to be in, like, there has to be a person, there has to be a version of you there when you go back. You can only go back in time, and you have to cast aside your body in order to do it. I'm like, there's so many rules, and it just convolutes the story even more. And I think that's probably...
It makes sense to me, it makes sense for the most part. Like, if we're talking, okay, are you ready for this, listeners? We're about to hit to big brain time. We're talking major big brain time.
Ultimate big thing to mention here.
Yeah. So if we're talking about physically, you could head back to a part of the world, the physical world, that you've been to in the past. So your old home, your old school, whatever, you could head to that. So it makes sense to say, like, okay, so you can only time travel back to where your body's been beforehand. And it makes sense that we're talking mentally, you can send yourself back to your old body at a certain point. But to me, it doesn't make sense on saying, like, you can't head forward in time Because if you think about it, we technically can time travel right now.
Mm-hmm.
We, when you sleep, it is a one-way ticket towards the future. If you think about it, your body just shuts down and your consciousness shuts down, and then when you wake up, you were forward in time. No, I'm serious. Like,
Whoa,
you think about it,
dude.
that is literally your time traveling. It's only one way ticket forward, but when you wake up, you were in a time forward ahead from when you left last off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting that they say like, oh yeah, if you leave your body, your consciousness heads back in time to reach your body. Then it can only move forward from that point. But to say like you can't time travel forward is a little bit confusing because it's like, okay, well, why is it that you can send your consciousness? You can, in this example, is young Xehanort gets taught, basically told from old Xehanort from the future, hey, do this shit, like follow my orders, and then we'll meet up at this certain point in time in your future, but my present.
Mm-hmm.
But like, meanwhile, Xehanort, the old Xehanort, can't travel forward. But if this is a concept that's being played, and also, okay, so I'm losing my train of thought. It's like,
alright.
so what's stopping from a successful Xehanort from a successful, like one past the old Xehanort from coming back to say, hey, look at this is what worked out. Do exactly this. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, there is, so if time travel is possible, that means there's multiple time streams of failure and success. So there should be one where Xehanort does beat, you know, everybody and becomes successful and wins. Shouldn't he be able to head back to his previous body at the point we're seeing in Dream Drop Distance at the end? Shouldn't it be someone being able to send back and say, hey, look, at like this is what you need to follow me? So in a third future Xehanort leading in. And I don't know if I'm stepping into Kingdom Hearts 3 territory with this crazy idea, but I feel like that's what's going to happen in the third game is like the successful, like this third. So you've got young Xehanort, you've got, like, so we're talking super young, the one that's introduced to this game. Which,
Yeah.
Xehanort from the very first game, the first Kingdom Hearts game.
So
and
Ansem,
you got,
Secret of Darkness, yeah.
yeah, then you've got, so you got young Xehanort, Ansem,
Yeah.
then you've got old Xehanort,
Yeah.
and it's like, are we going to have Xehanort X, which is another, like the old one showing up in the third game? So yeah, it is a little bit like crazy. Like Kingdom Hearts has always been nuts, and I like that about it. But like it's been
This is
like
the
if
game
you
where it just like it hits the wall with everything, and then basically if you are not on like Nomura's crazy train at this point, then like you're gonna get lost in the shuffle. Because I kind of had, because this was something that we were talking about while we were playing through the end game. I kind of had an epiphany going through the climax of Dream Drop Distance because, like I said, this portion of the game more or less broke Kingdom Hearts for me. It's not necessarily one of my favorite portions of the game, but going through it with you and sort of getting a new, fresh take on it, I kind of went with the idea of I kind of have to embrace the crazy if I want to like, you know, keep an open mind with it. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of loved it. Just how like outside the box, how crazy it pushes the narrative and these really really nonsensical ideas that really in all honest opinion don't really make sense, shouldn't make sense, but at the same time still allows you to sort of reach sort of a level of empathy with your characters and stuff like that, like allows you to feel your feels while things are going down. Like the whole time Ansem, Seeker of Darkness and Riku are kind of having their talk of like, oh, this is a dream within a dream, a twofold nightmare, you know, that type of shit. I was just like, this is kind of cool. Like this is exactly the kind of conflict I'm kind of expecting from Kingdom Hearts now, and especially having played 3 and know what happens in that game. I think it's kind of forced me to reflect that like, yeah, no, this kind of craziness from the series, if they've more or less embraced their identity of it here, and Yeah, so I had an epiphany. I still don't think it's necessarily good. I think there's many different ways that they could have done it to make it better, but at the same time I don't really know how else they could have done it in a way. Well,
It,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, so like, I just realized too, like, they'll probably bring them back in Kingdom Hearts 3, but like the new characters that you meet besides young Xehanort, Joshua, Beat, Rhythm,
Rhyme.
or sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
Rhyme,
Neku, yeah.
Naku, and what's the girl's name?
Shiki?
Shiki. Like, now that I think about it, they're there for like what, a half, 3/4 of the game, and then near the end, it's like, yeah, we've forgotten about these characters we just made. Like I guess that's my first gripe about the game.
Josh. They weren't necessarily introduced to the game. So I don't know if you noticed, but there were no Final Fantasy characters in Dream Drop, except for the Moogles.
Don't forget about the Moogle. Yeah.
No, of course not, my Kupo. It's so instead to make up for that, they included Neku, Joshua, and all those characters because they are from another Square Enix game, The World Ends With You, which I think kind of helps because the idea of the Sleeping Realm, what The World Ends With You, just go off on a tangent about that game, which by the way is really good. If you guys have a Nintendo DS or have access to the Switch port that just came out, highly recommend you play it. It's basically all those characters have died, and now in sort of a way to in exchange for their life, they have to go through something called the Reaper's Game, which is they have a select amount of time to basically save their souls to make it back to the real world and shit like that. At least as far as I remember, I haven't played the game in a while, so I could be a little rusty, but I think that idea and sort of how Traverse Town is a sleeping world and how they lost their world and how they're going through the Reaper's Game in Traverse Town, I think is a really cool implementation. I think they could have done maybe a little bit more with it because I do feel like they're just kind of there because like when the Final Fantasy characters show up in Kingdom Hearts games, they more or less are still there to serve a purpose and whatnot, where I don't necessarily think The World Ends With You characters do as much, but that's just me.
See, like, and I'm like, as a big overall thought, I'm thinking about the series. Like, it starts off relatively simple, but I don't know if Nomura, like, what is the target audience with this game series? Now I'm thinking about it, like, when you first start off, yes, the players when they first started the very first game would have been fairly young. I assume like,
Yeah.
you'd age with the games, but like, I don't get, as the games go on, like they get progressively more and more like out there in terms of their theories and their like now we're at a point where it's just like, even it doesn't help that I'm tired and got a cold coming on to finish this game, but it's like I'm having a real hard, like beforehand I was like, yeah, like the theories make sense as long as you sit down and kind of think about it and make sure you're paying attention, but it's like this is a game where I kind of agree with Devon. We're starting to get like, what is these rules and theories that they're putting forth? Like, this is even okay. Nomura, your crazy train has left the station and like it has gone to another plane of existence that I'm not following.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to put together like what I think is happening, but it's just like really hard to keep track of. And I like it, but it's like I'm trying to think like this game is Disney property and Square Enix properties. It's like, you think this would be more streamlined, like easy for kids to follow, but it's like, no, like, I mean, I guess kids would still enjoy this game, but I can't imagine like them understanding exactly. It's like, Mommy, what does Xehanort mean by his whole time travel explanation? And they'd be like,
I don't know.
I'll tell
Jimmy,
you when you're
go play Uncharted or Call of Duty or whatever.
yeah, Jimmy, go play Fortnite. Like, at least you can understand what's going on. No, like, should we? So we've been just talking about mostly like,
the plot. I do want to talk about the characters a little bit. So Dream Drop is about going through the Mark of Mastery and stuff like that. It's for Sora and Riku. I both love and hate where both of these characters go. Because Sora, I kind of get it now. I think they finally found footing on what his character is and how he's happy-go-lucky. He has a deep empathy for everything and everywhere he goes. He kind of reminds me of Steven Universe in a way, if he was a little bit more simpler than that. I think the problem though is that I think Sora has finally been Flanderized in a way.
Yeah.
Because like there were times in earlier games, even in like games like Kingdom Hearts 2, where he's still happy and cheery and whatnot, that he still has a level of understanding of like this. He's not dumb, basically. Like they have cranked in Dream Drop Distance. I've mentioned before, they sort of crank up his naivete to 11, where like he can't.
Yeah.
Like, for example, he goes into the Hunchback of Notre Dame world, and immediately when he encounters Frollo, he's like, "Yo, there's nothing wrong with you here. Hi, my name is Sora. Do you know what's going on around here?" I'm just like, bruh, you have a racist, sexist old priest guy here who is dressed in black, and you're not getting any, like, maybe this guy is evil, you know?
Yeah, I know. And you even think about it with this reaction of Riku becoming a Keyblade master, and he's not upset at all. He's quite genuinely happy for like. I mean, I bet he would be, but he doesn't show like he's even partly like upset and disappointed that he didn't pass. Like realistically, you think he'd be like, "Yeah, it's great for you, Riku." Like, but it kind of sucks. Like, I guess I do have to go to the drawing board. Like he's. Like as you said, I think he turned up his characteristics to an 11. Like he's so freaking happy for his friend that he's not even like remotely upset that he didn't pass. And I find that like the games beforehand were pretty realistic within within a reasonable limit. Like there is some times where it's like, okay, well, yeah. But you're right. This game is like, okay, we kind of made Sora so ridiculous. It needs to be toned down a little bit to be realistic.
At the same time, like, yeah, I think everybody who has come away from Dream Drop Distance all had the same reaction that, like, oh, in Kingdom Hearts 3, Sora's gonna be, like, a little bit more angsty because he feels like a failure. He failed the mark of mastery and stuff like that. And I'm just like... You know, I would love if they go in that direction. The problem is that Dream Drop does not commit at the ending. I think what could have happened is if that scene of where Sora, like, congratulates Riku and, like, yo, you did so good. Like, they could keep that and stuff like that. But, like, the final shot of when he decided to go back to the Dream Worlds, if they instead of him... Because they showed that final shot of him is smiling as he's going into the keyhole and shit like that. I think what it could have been cool is when they show that shot, what could have been... really impactful is when it cuts to that shot, we see Sora still smiling, but then we could just sort of see like his smile fades to sort of like a frown, and then everybody be like, oh no, he's feeling feels, that's upsetting. And it's just like, oh, now we know what his feelings are going to be like going into Kingdom Hearts 3. That's really crazy. But
that would have been kind of cool. It would have been like interesting to see Sora and Riku kind of switch positions, in terms of Riku has always been like struggling to keep himself from falling into the darkness and trying to ultimately like do the right thing. And Sora's always been on the path of the righteousness, to the point where, yes, he is kind of a Ned Flanders in the sense that like he rarely makes bad judgment calls for what is ultimately right. It'd be kind of interesting to see him have a story arc like that. Like, I don't know, like this would breach onto the predictions for the third game, but from what you're saying, I have a feeling that he's just going to keep being more of the goody two shoes, like on the right path. I don't know. I'd love to see
I won't spoil anything. I will say that Sora's character in 3 is a little bit better than Dream Drop. Like, he's a little bit more realistic. But yeah, for the most part, they do keep on the track of like, this is Sora's character mostly. He's very empathetic and very, not necessarily cheerful, but he always tries to keep on the bright side of things, which isn't awful, but at the same time, I'm like, I mean, a little angst never hurt anybody. I mean, look at Riku. He's
like, there's nothing wrong with it, because like then we just basically not carbon copy, but we'd have like a very similar character to Riku. I guess that's why I kind of agree with you. Riku does seem to be the best character of the series, funny enough, because he's so realistic.
I love my edgelord son.
Well, because he's so realistic. Like, he was even shocked to find out that he was like given the title of Keyblade Master at the end of the game. Like, he is surprised. Like, he hasn't even really come to terms with how much he's progressed as a character. But yeah, in terms of that, like, but then we're kind of, so we see a lot of Riku and Sora. That's basically, this is the whole point of their games, or this is the whole point of this game, is to really flesh out their characteristics. But like, then it kind of feels again silly to introduce Joshua and like all these other characters from another game. It just feels kind of silly because like they're so underplayed. Like, I'm hoping to have more of a play in the third game, because any other game series or any other game in the Kingdom Hearts series, it feels like the extra characters actually have a decent role to play. Like, sure, Joshua kind of has an explanation with what dreams are and what they're doing with the sleeping realms, but like, again, like, they're kind of forgotten in the last quarter / last half of the game. They're kind of just swept under the rug and be like, they're not needed anymore. So I guess we're kind of done touching on the story. Should we go on positives and negatives, or?
A little, yeah, because I feel like still talking about the characters. Let's switch to positives, because let's go back to my boy Riku for a second. I love Riku's character arc in Dream Drop Distance so much, because like, I love where Riku started in Kingdom Hearts 1, and now where he's ended in Dream Drop Distance, because I feel like that's a really probably one of the best arcs in the series, because he goes from someone who's very apathetic, very cynical, who struggles with his darkness and whatnot in 1, and then Chain of Memories coming to grips with what he's done, 2, and Days trying to atone for what he's done, and sort of dealing with that sense of depression of like, I can't even look my friends in the face because of what I've done, and then coming around to like, maybe I will be okay. And then getting into Dream Drop, when he's given the opportunity to be a true Keyblade Master, he's like, I don't know if I'm qualified for this, but I'll give it a shot if that's what it takes. And then he ends up coming out on top. He ends up becoming the hero of the story to save Sora, and I think that's by confronting who he is. And I feel like that's, and he ends up becoming a Keyblade Master in the end. He ends up earning his title, and I think that's really impactful, and I just love it. I love my edgelord son. He's it's so good.
So and the other thing is too, like, we're also seeing some character development in another one of your favorite characters.
Oh?
If you got it memorized.
Oh my god, yes! Oh, we haven't even touched on that. Oh my god, Lee or Axel. No, he's called Lee now because he's somebody. He got his heart back.
What was his middle name again? Keyblade Master or something like that?
No, it was like Dark Rescue or something
like
that. I'm like, oh my god. This man. Look, I know everybody likes to rag on the idea that like anybody and everybody can get a Keyblade now and how it's not necessarily special, but I don't care, because it's just so much fun. It's so much fun to see Lee, a character who is also trying to atone for his mistakes, but he still never sort of loses himself, you know? Like, he
never loses confidence.
Yeah, he never loses his confidence, and I think that's really cool. And yeah,
like compared to Riku, where you can really see he does lose confidence and like, oh my god, what have I done? Like, how can I fix this? And he's not real. Like, meanwhile, Axel / Lee is like, I do what I do. Like, basically the song "Killing in the Name of Love" by Rage Against the Machine describes Axel. Basically, like, fuck you, I'm not gonna do what you told me. Like, just does his own thing.
I think it's pretty much the inverse of Riku, where like he is he has full confidence in himself that like, yeah, I may not be like your first choice to be a Keyblade wielder, but god damn it, I'll give it a shot. And I'm just like, yes.
And he has a Spider-Man moment. Maybe it's a flick of the wrist.
Yes. Go Keyblade. Fly.
Yeah. Just cut to
Can
Spider-Man
somebody do
1.
that edit of like Riku on Tobey Maguire's face? Just no, sorry, Lee on Tobey Maguire's face. Beautiful. So we've been talking story so much. Do you want to flip over to the other side of the game, which is the gameplay? So you play as both Sora and Riku, obviously, with the assistance of the drop system. I'm very mixed on the drop system, because on one hand it helps even out the gameplay playing between Sora and Riku, which I think is fine, but at the same time, my god, is it an inconvenience at times?
Okay, so I get a bit of why they would have it timed to have the drop gauge and like have the fact that they switch to. So basically, because I think like if you had you being able to switch between Roxas and Sora at any moment, it would be hard to make the player have to play as one or the other. I find like you definitely have a bias between one of the two, and then end up sticking and playing through mostly the one, and then having to start. So imagine that, like say like, oh man, like I love Riku, I want to play as Riku through the whole game first, and then come back as Sora. Well, if you do that, like imagine how confusing it would be to come back to start off as Sora at the very beginning, and then having to remember like everything that's happened all the way up to where you end up the game. Like it just wouldn't work.
So kind of like Birth by Sleep in a way.
Yeah, I just don't think it would work out. Like you'd have one character lagging behind at the very back, and then basically it would be like I think this is actually in a way it's a little bit annoying with the fact that it's time. Yes, I will admit that, but thinking about it story wise, it plays out better because look at Birth by is that
the one with Terra Mentis and all.
Yeah, Birth by Sleep. That's the issue.
Like...
You're playing as three characters. Sure, you're unlocking little bits of story that you're missing from one perspective to the other, but overall, you're basically re-seeing the same stuff over and over again, and it does get a little bit dry. With this, it's like sure you're re-seeing it, but you're only really re-seeing it within like a 2-minute interval or whatever. Like you're only switching between characters right afterwards anyway, so you don't have to like be reminded constantly. Like it feels like, oh, I'm just getting a quick recap rather than being annoyed with it. But overall, like, and I'm hoping for 3 is where they don't. This is what I think they should do for 3, and this is going to touch on for predictions a little bit, is to have each character have their own story arc and their own story instead of having this, oh, we're going to have Riku, Sora, and Kairi all go the same direction but have slightly different variances. Like, no, let's have them have 3 different pathways so you're not being annoyed with having a recap every single time you're playing through. So yeah, with the drop gauge, that is kind of an annoyance of having to be timed. Like I found like I was rushing through and avoiding enemies that just try to get to the level, and I guarantee I missed a lot of. Like, sure, items aren't super important, but I think if you wanted to 100% complete this game, it would have been super freaking annoying.
You gotta collect drop-me-nots everywhere you go.
Yeah. Well, the fact is, too, like, and this goes on to more of the gameplay with the Dream Eaters. Like, I barely even, like, if I felt like I could have just went with the first 2 Dream Eaters that you unlocked and not really cared about. Again, it feels like kind of like added, like, yeah, sure, you can use them if you want to, but for the most part, it doesn't really add... It doesn't really force me to use them. So I feel like
I'll actually add a counter to that because I think they do actually kind of force you to use Dream Eaters because a lot of your abilities are locked behind Dream Eaters and stuff like that, like your combo pluses, your once mores and second chances. A lot of that stuff is locked behind abilities, but I will agree with you in that there are times where most of the time Dream Eaters aren't necessarily that important. You can probably go with just our starters. But I did enjoy going through all the Dream Eaters and all the names we gave for them.
Yes.
That was fun.
Devon, you should put... Okay, so this is a reminder to Devon and Post to put a list of all the Dream Eater names that I've... Well, I'd say 95% me, 5% him with the names to come up with them, because he did name the last Dream Eater, though, right?
Yeah, I forget the name of the penguin one, but I named him Meme Machine.
Yeah,
it's
Meme Machine.
The penguin who, when you team up with Sora, gives you the hot tub, where you team up with Riku, he gives him a surfboard. Beautiful time.
Okay, so this is a reminder to Devon and Post to get a picture of Sora and the penguin in the bathtub, but also Photoshop in the Lego Star Wars Beach Troopers for sitting in the same hot tub as well. Or someone else, they can Photoshop Sora and the penguin's face onto the picture of the Lego Star Wars Beach Troopers in the hot tub. Either or works out, but...
Beautiful. 10 out of 10. Yeah, I'm trying to remember... Oh, yeah, and then... going through unlocking all the Dream Eaters, it allowed us to unlock probably the most important ability for Sora to have in the game, which is break time.
Yes, dabbing on them haters.
Of course.
Dabbing on Xehanorts.
Beautiful. 10 out of 10.
So, now the other gameplay mechanic, flow motion.
Ah, yes.
I love it, but it is so overpowered. I like it, but like I can easily see how and it's funny too because it's a little bit, I wouldn't say glitchy, but a little bit like touchy, because I'd literally just jump off a wall to either scale it or bounce off the wall to keep using flow motion attacks on Dream Eaters, or even bosses. Mm-hmm. And I liked it, but I really hope for Kingdom Hearts 3 whatever they add, because every major game, it feels like they're adding something new. I really hope they don't have something game breaking, because
I will confirm that flow motion does come back in Kingdom Hearts 3, but it's very toned down.
Okay,
so
thank God.
It's not going to be overpowering.
It's I like it, but I know this was an easier that we played on beginner, but I guarantee even on the harder levels, it could probably still be used in a way that it was probably not meant to be used.
Yeah.
I think that's the only... I'm trying to think if there's any other gameplay mechanics that they added for Triple D.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Flow motion. Oh, okay. So combat in Dream Drop Distance is pretty even. Even with flow motion, there are some bosses that do give you trouble. Like young Xehanort is such a beast, especially when he does the time stop thing. That's nonsense. However, there is a way to break Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance's gameplay, and that is, of course, Balloon Rush.
Oh yeah, Balloon Rush.
Jeez Louise, the balloon spell is way too powerful.
Well,
I love it, but
it is the only attack that you can unless they hit you as you first use it. I've noticed if you're hitting it after a certain point, it still activates, and the balloon, and I think it's the only attack that is seeking, right? As far as I know.
Yes, the Balloon Ra spell is the only one that's seeking. Balloon itself is just sort of acts like a kind of like Mind Shield.
Yeah.
In BBS, and I don't think I ever shown you Balloon Ga, the final form of it, but I think it is also seeking, but it's only one big one that kind of explodes when it hits. But that's about it.
But yeah, regardless, balloon rub, whatever, it's definitely the most powerful command deck option to use. So that plus flow motion, it's even at the harder difficulty, I can imagine still plowing through the game. As long as you get to literally, I can imagine you getting up to seriously fighting Dream Eaters for the first little bit, leveling up until you can afford buying multiple Balloon Rus and a couple of Kiaragas, and just using that in flow motion to just plow through the rest of the game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it kind of is, though. I did try this game on critical mode to unlock some of the features going into our playthrough, like the secret ending and stuff like that. And holy shit, the boss design in Dream Drop Distance is so bad. It is, because I know we complained about it in Birth by Sleep a little bit, and how Osaka Team, when they were first developing it, it made sense. and enemies still stagger and stuff like that. But Dream Drop Distance, some of these bosses are like Gargoyle in Hunchback World, that first monkey one in Traverse Town. They are so just, they don't stagger, they don't like stop for anything. You constantly have to stay on your toes, and it almost becomes a bit of a chore to get through. But I will admit, going through beginner, it was kind of all right. I didn't mind having to go through it too much. But yeah, on higher difficulties, it's not necessarily hard. It's just the game and how it functions makes it a little bit more difficult than it needs to be. But that's just me.
Yeah. So like it was still fun, like especially the flow motion it's definitely a fun side to the gameplay, but like yeah, it definitely it's funny because it's gone from Birth by Sleep, which was kind of like disjointed and a little bit like, except for Aqua play style, like it felt like it was definitely more like like this is definitely flow motion is literally like flow, like it flows really nice. It
basically fixes the stiffness,
but to the point where it's like it's a little bit too loosey goosey. It's like holy cow, like. But yeah, overall I enjoyed the great gameplay. Definitely not saying it took away from the fun factor. It just it feels like okay, we've gone from two extremes, from stiff to way too loose. Yeah. Like in Open Kingdom Hearts 3, it's like, okay, boys, we've gone through so many different, so much stuff. Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be so polished, it's going to reflect light to the nth degree. So, yeah. I guess... So we've gone over story, gameplay,
characters. The worlds, I think it's very interesting. The level design in Dream Drop is kind of like they're still very empty, obviously because it's on a portable device. So I imagine the way Nomura directs his games wouldn't necessarily allow for that much vastness. So I guess it kind of makes sense why the worlds are so empty. But I do kind of appreciate that they made the world so large to accommodate for flow motion and whatnot. I think just at the end of the day, they still kind of feel a little bit bland. They're just new rooms with different reskins and whatnot.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean the world... well, not all the worlds are awful. Some of them do still have a lot of charm that I really enjoy. Like, Symphony of Sorcery, the Fantasia level...
Yes.
Is so good. If anything, just because of the music and the way they utilize Fantasia's style within that world, so good.
That is
so good.
So that's basically the best, as far as I can remember, best world. Like that's using older assets to make a really good piece. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I found, like I agree with you, like a lot of the worlds were vast, and I was like, okay, these are a little bit too big and a little lacking. And again, it goes with the whole drop gauge, and the fact that I'm kind of rushing against time. Like I felt like the very first the Notre Dame world.
Oh yeah.
I felt like I wanted to explore it more, but I felt like I gotta hurry up and get through it. But I couldn't actually sit down and enjoy like the visual aspect of it, because you're always trying to rush against time. Like there's, until you hit a boss fight and you kind of have time to kind of soak in what's in the background. Like it does make me a little bit sad, because there's people that spent time making the backgrounds and like you know, working hard to make them look good, but like you're running past it.
Yeah.
Just try to kind of beat time is a little bit upsetting, a little bit sad, but like. Yeah, that Fantasia world's probably the best out of all of them. In terms of the worst, I felt like the final world was kind of just bland.
The world that never was.
Yeah, in terms of like level design, like sure it was kind of cool with different platforms raising and lowering, but like I felt like it was so visually just it was.
The reality shift was cool though.
Yeah, the reality shifts were cool, but it's just like you're basically running past. Rectangular like prisms and blocks and cubes, like they're really basic geometric shapes with not a whole lot to them. Like I guess it's always been kind of like that with the last worlds. It's been mostly like,
well, at least on the handheld ones, at least
it feels like bleak and kind of almost like futuristic in the terms of like simplicity, like Tesla's new truck,
Oh my god!
Boy, it's such a big brain time. I tied that in there.
Beautiful.
Tesla, send me a truck for throwing your name out here.
Jesus.
Hashtag not sponsored. No, but yeah, like I felt like the last level was a little bit too plain.
Yeah. I think not necessarily worst world, but I think the most missed potential of a Kingdom Hearts world is one of the first two worlds, Hunchback and Tron Legacy. Dear God, I had such high hopes when they announced that both Hunchback and Tron Legacy were coming to Kingdom Hearts, because like those are such great films that can work within Kingdom Hearts, like with their themes and whatnot. And I feel like Dream Drop just really did not capitalize that on them in the best way they could, both from a story standpoint and from gameplay. Because like we were saying about the world design, very bland and whatnot. Like especially with the grid, that could have been done a lot better in terms of its gameplay and whatnot. But that's just me.
Yeah, this is kind of a weird game because it feels like one of the like I know we were playing these portable console games ported over to the PS4, so like it definitely changes up how it flows and how it feels a little bit. But this is one of the few portable games I felt like was so long, like it feels like it should have been a actual console game, but it's not quite there in terms of, like you said, the assets of the worlds are so, I wouldn't say super basic, but they're definitely less complex and less, they're toned down more than a full console game would have been. And it's super weird because it feels like such an in-between game. Like I feel like it's not quite, it's weird in that aspect. Like I kind of wish I could play it on the 3DS to see what it feels like, because it feels like it would be such a long game. Like you'd have to constantly, like I can imagine you bringing your console with you on long car trips to play it, and it takes like probably like, how long is the game overall? Like
I think it's roughly about 20 hours, maybe.
Holy cow! Are you kidding me? 20 hours?
Well, on average, Kingdom Hearts games do roughly take 20 hours to get through.
Okay, but even if it was like 15,
yeah,
like, that's a long. Like I consider, how long was Birth by Sleep?
Birth by Sleep, I think, was, I want to say close to 30 hours altogether.
Really?
Altogether. Well, all three campaigns together.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. So, like, 10 hours per campaign.
Yeah.
That feels more reasonable to me. Like, I was going to say, like, definitely 10 hours or under would be, like, a portable console game.
In and around 15 to 20 hours, I think, is how long it takes to beat Dream Drop Distance. I don't know. Yeah, it's. I'll have to reference howtobeat.com to double check that. But
see, like, and it's weird because we're now at a time in history where, look at Nintendo's current console is the Switch, which is portable and well, not saying like you could never do that with a laptop to begin with PC games, but it makes, like, how do you then make a game short enough to be kind of a portable, basically, how do you make a game where it's not super long, that if you decide to play it as a portable game, you're not having to take like 30 trips? I guess you would still, regardless, like you still have time where you go on trips, but that's so weird to think like the older portable games would be long enough that you could sit them and do them stationary too. That's kind of an off-topic rant. Sorry. I guess to go back, so we've covered characters, gameplay, level design, the story.
I'm not necessarily sure if there's anything left to talk about with Dream Drop. I kind of have a new appreciation for the game. I still don't necessarily like a lot of its choices in terms of its story, namely with its end game and whatnot. But I think I've kind of come around on its more empathetic features, because I do think there's a lot of things that this game, in terms of its story and characters, that they do right. I just wish maybe if this game had gone through at least maybe one more draft, it could have worked out. It's still not my favorite game by any means, but I do think it does a lot right that I don't think a lot of people look at as often. But yeah.
So yeah, I guess we should go into predictions now. Is there something you want to?
Kind of, because I feel like we have hit a crossroads, Josh. So which requires a little bit of history.
Are you gonna sell your soul to the devil so you can play guitar? Have you seen that movie?
No.
Oh my god, it's a good movie.
Okay. So yeah, time for a little history. So Dream Drop Distance originally came out in 2012 on the 3DS.
The year the world is supposed to end.
Yeah, well, with the way this game went, maybe. But yeah, when Dream Drop Distance came out, there was very much a huge divide in the community. Some people liked it. Some people loved the hell out of this game, and then there were several detractors. And to the general populace who looked at the state of the series after this game came out, it was clear that Kingdom Hearts' identity within the gaming community was very close to laughable in a sense, because like or hate Dream Drop Distance's plot, it did in many ways break the series. And the blanket state of this game being convoluted, the series being convoluted, kind of just leapt through the community, and that's how everybody now saw Kingdom Hearts going forward. And so people were in a realization of like, if this is what we have to look forward to the rest of the series, I don't know what's really going to keep people attached.
Yeah, that's what my fear was saying for the third game. This is like, if this gets any more convoluted, like I can't even, I really struggled to figure out this last little bit for the ending. It's like, I don't want to have to constantly make notes and really be awake, like literally have to like get a 12-hour sleep to get up and play this game to fully, pardon me, fully like rationalize everything that's going on and figure out step by step what they're trying to I agree with that sentiment of I like the game, but yes, it's like, holy cow, okay, tone down the whole, like, you don't have to blow our minds every single time with the plot.
Yeah, and I think something else you gotta realize, like, Nomura at Square at this point in time was probably overworked to death because at the same time of doing all of these Kingdom Hearts handheld games, he was also working on Final Fantasy Versus 13 at the time, which was his baby, and he was trying to devote most of his time into because that was supposed to be Square's big AAA game. However, during this time, there were a little bit of a shakeup going on at Square because some other corporate politics were going on, and so there were a lot of things that were going on internally at Square while Nomura was working on Versus 13 as well as all these other Kingdom Hearts games. So around 2013, 2014, there was some internal stuff going on at Square that resulted in Nomura leaving Versus 13 as a project, handing it over to Hajime Tabata to take over. There was some internal stuff going on with that game, and we didn't really realize what was going on. Actually, no, that's a lie. We did know what was going on because the previous year at E3 2013, something happened.
Uh-oh.
Square decided to come to E3 2013 and just fire on all cylinders, if you will. And to show what exactly I mean by what exactly they showed off, I decided to pull up a reaction video from the YouTube channel formerly known as Goddammit Joel, but you may know now as KZ Excellent, to sort of show what exactly was shown off at Sony's conference at E3 2013. So I'm going to sync this up.
They fucking did it! Yes! Oh my god! You fucking dickheads! I'm such a fucking fanboy!
Alright, so we're going to pause it there for a quick second. So, as you saw, there was a shakeup at Square, and Nomura was still attached to the project at this point, but internally, and now having been shown off, Final Fantasy Versus 13 got a full rebrand as Final Fantasy 15. It was now a mainline entry in the series that was going to, like, It was going to be big.
When your game takes so long to develop as a side game, you decide to make it as a full game.
Yeah. Basically to give it the importance it needs so that they could be like, all right, we spend enough time on this. This needs to come out now. So eventually this game wouldn't even come out until 2016. But
holy,
so yeah, 10 years after the game was announced. Like
that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Now, Square could have left it there. They could have unveiled that and be like, yo, guys, it's that game we've been spending so much time on, it's finally coming. You'll be satisfied. But no.
But wait, there's more.
Tetsuya Nomura, the crazy man that he is, could not stop there. And instead, he decided to give the audience one more beautiful package, which is the following trailer.
We have one more trailer for you.
That's why he doesn't have information on 13.
If it's not obvious, I love KZ. He's so much fun.
My God.
Oh, and it already reviews.
My head hurts. Oh my God. And here's Kingdom Hearts HD.
Oh yeah, the HD collections are coming out at this point, so
Oh.
they just figured, oh yeah, it's the second HD collection that's coming.
Oh, I'm sorry. My hand fell on my keyboard when I tweeted that.
Oh my God.
All right, I'm sorry about that.
What is this?
Why was he so saturated?
Like-
Oh,
HD.
yeah.
Like, okay,
There's a lot
the
more
colors are
though.
pretty
What is
bright.
this? This looks like
What?
nothing.
Wait a second.
Hold on,
What the
hold
fuck?
up.
Wait a second.
No.
Oh my God. God. Don't do this to me.
Don't do this to me.
to me.
Man, I'm about to ruin this man's career.
I'm done. I'm done. I can die now. Holy shit. Sky, it's Kingdom Hearts 3. What am I looking at?
Now in development.
Oh my God.
It's it.
Oh my God, Sky, you're losing it. I'm so done. I'm done. I can die.
I can die.
Alright, we'll stop it there for now. But, yeah, after years and years of anticipation, Square decided to drop the ball and announce that Kingdom Hearts 3 was officially in development, and gamers around the world swooned, including myself.
Yeah.
I remember, I was at school, I was in high school, I was in AV class, and I had some time to fool around, so I went on YouTube, and I found that screenshot of Sora looking at all those Heartless. I was like, no. And then I looked it up, and there was the trailer, and I watched it like, no way. And that was all I could talk about for the rest of the day. Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming! I was... no words can describe how happy I was knowing that the game was coming, it was real, and it was happening. And I was so happy. Now, obviously, we did have to wait a few more years for the game to actually come out, but just sort of having that initial feeling of like, this game that I've waited so much of my life for exists. No other feeling in the world. It was so good. But Josh, the thing is that we still can't go into that game yet because
there's more.
But wait, there's more. We still have at least 2 more titles to cover before we can properly go into Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh boy.
So around the time, this is 2013 that that Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced. Around this time, over in Japan, there was a proper Kingdom Hearts spin-off that was available on PC browser called Kingdom Hearts Key. Keyblade, the X symbol.
Okay, I was about to say, how is that? How do you sell that? Like, how confusing would that be to try to get... Okay, continue.
Okay, but anyway, it was a PC browser game, and it was considered like the first true Kingdom Hearts spin-off, because when it was first announced, It didn't have any ties to the story. It was meant to stand completely on its own. You play as your own like avatar character that you can create. It had its own unique art style, but it was
cool.
still set in the Kingdom Hearts universe, and it was pretty cool. And so the game still had a story mode that you would go through. It was like a mission setup, kind of like what Days had, and it was really interesting. However, as the years went on, and more updates for the game came out, slowly people started to realize, oh no, this game has actual plot to the series. It's canon. And it kept going on, and eventually the game had its final story update to complete the story in, I believe it was 2016. That brought everything full circle, and the game was completed. The game was never ported to PC over in North America, so all we have to go off of is YouTube cutscenes. But the game did eventually just make its way over to North America as Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key.
Oh my god, with the names!
For mobile phones, so for iOS, Android, Google Play, whatever you have, you can download it right now and play it. And when it was announced, everybody thought, oh, it's a port of the game. We'll be able to play it over here in North America. Josh, you have to understand, nothing is this simple with Nomura. Nothing is this simple with Nomura. As the game was getting weekly updates, as you usually do, it suddenly got to a point where the game, Unchained Key, diverted its story from where Key Browser left off, and it started going in its own direction. And we realized, oh no, this isn't a port of Key, it's a sequel to Key. As the story kept going on, the game progressed past the story that Key had told, and eventually the game ended up becoming its own entity by getting a rebrand as Kingdom Hearts Union Cross.
So what about the people in Japan? Did they get the short end of the stick?
Oh no, the game was still being made in Japan. Like they also got they still got the game. It just that game also got ported over to North America, so we also realized what was going on. So yeah, and then there's now when the 2.8 collection was coming out, it also got representation from Key, because everybody figured, oh, it's going to be sort of a retelling of that story, so that people who don't want to play the mobile game, they can just watch that and sort of figure that out. So that film, Kingdom Hearts Key back cover, it kind of tells the story of Key, but not necessarily. It tells the story because you can't really tell the story from a character who's made up on your phone, like your own avatar and whatnot. So instead they divert the focus of the story to these characters known as the foretellers. They're these union leaders that you can that your player character can align with, kind of like different factions in MMOs and stuff like that. So everybody was just sort of confused, like, why is this game like receiving so much story importance? That's because, Josh, I forgot to tell you what time period that they decided to set this game in. They decided to set this 100 years before the events of not just Kingdom Hearts 1, but Birth by Sleep. Because this game takes place before the Keyblade War. Damn. Yeah. You can kind of imagine what's going to go down. So, yeah. So those were the next chronological games to be, I guess, the focus of the community's attention until Kingdom Hearts 3. And for the next episode, Josh, we will be covering all of it.
Oh,
now,
boy.
Now, don't get it twisted. Every cutscene is available on YouTube, so we'll be able to just scroll through those, and we'll be fine. We won't have to sit through the pachinko machine type gameplay in Key. We'll just be able to watch all the important cutscenes that are available on YouTube, and of course back cover, which is part of the 2.8 collection on PS4. So yeah, with that said, I think it's time to move into our predictions for those sets of games. So Josh, what are your predictions for the Key Saga?
The Key Saga. Oh boy. It's gonna be interesting because the fact they said you can make your own character. Well, if it's anything like Star Wars, I bet it's still gonna have the same idea of like light versus dark, but obviously it's gonna have different characters from 100 years beforehand. I think Xehanort's still gonna show up though. Apparently, he's got the oldest Keyblade in existence, so guaranteed, like he's probably gonna show up near the end or at some point in the games. I think it's going to be more muddled when it comes to who's good or bad. You said there's 4 different factions, basically?
5 different factions.
5. Holy shit, 5?
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I'm assuming maybe some of the factions are more so like, I know with, I'm basically, again, this is off of Star Wars. I forget what game it was, but I know you could be like a bounty hunter and...
the Old Republic.
Old Republic, yeah. So I'm guessing there's going to be a couple factions that kind of don't have anything to do with good versus evil, like light versus dark. It's going to be like they kind of do their own thing, they have their own agenda, but there's probably going to be a couple factions that are fighting for that lead towards the Keyblade War. Yeah. I can't really think of anything else to add to this. It'd be interesting to see, though, just which faction leads to what, though. Yeah, I guess that's it for predictions. I can't really think of anything else. This is totally, especially when you said it's a mobile game that first started off with like, oh, this is just going to be its own thing, and then, wait, we lied. There's actually going to be more importance to this than
plot.
Yeah, there's going to be plot. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I think it's going to start off slow and then just keep going until that ball rolls just ever so big.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what your opinion of the Key Saga is. It's a lot, but depending on which way you look at the series, it'll either be more batshit insane than we thought it was, or it'll be the most Kino thing ever. So
probably a bit of both for me.
Yeah, a bit of both. So it'll be exciting to see what your opinion is. So we will be jumping into that right shortly. Thank you, Josh, as always, for joining me in these wonderful episodes.
Glad to be here.
Yes,
just remember, Tesla, I'm still waiting for sponsorship for a free truck.
Beautiful.
Oh, and I guess everybody have a wonderful, because the next time that we probably do something is going to be in the next year. So
hopefully, yeah.
I wish everybody a happy new year and that everything's all bright and well.
Hopefully, because as far as I know, like I said, all the cutscenes are available on YouTube, and I think last I checked, it's like 2 hours in total we'll probably spend watching them. But hopefully, no promises. We might have the next episode out before the end of the year, but no promises. If we do, though, enjoy 2020, guys. Hopefully it'll be better.
You'll see a whole lot of things in 2020.
God damn it, Josh. And I think on that end, we're going to close out this episode. Thank you all so much, as always, for watching. If you liked what you've heard in today's episode, be sure to like this video, comment below what your opinion is on Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance and where you think Key's going to go. Well, I mean, Key's already been out for a while, so you probably already know what's going on, so maybe give your thoughts on Key as well as subscribe to the channel for more content from coming soon. And as always, be sure to follow Shallow Shover Productions on both Twitter and Instagram for more information on yours truly. And until next time, I'd say that's about it. Josh, do you have any final remarks?
Make sure you flow motion right onto that like button.
Oh my god, yes! Smashing! Smash it. Yeah, until then, I'd say that's about it. Thank you all so much for watching. May your heart be your guiding key. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye!
Toodaloo!